A major political party within the pro-independence FLNKS grouping in New Caledonia has backtracked on its initial acknowledgement of a draft document proposed by Paris for determining the future status of the French territory. The decision by the Caledonian Union, or UC, to reserve judgment later this year is yet another spanner in the works for France, which has been trying to forge a new path for New Caledonia after 3 consecutive no votes to independence in referenda conducted in 2018, 2020 and 2021. Paris has struggled to get engagement from pro-independence parties because Indigenous Canucks boycotted the third referendum held in 2021 and refused to recognise its outcome. Several pro-French politicians have since said UC's latest change of heart only isolated the party within the political spectrum, because other pro-independence FLNKS components have recently reassured they will take part in a fresh round of talks with the French minister next month. Koroi Hawkins spoke with Patrick de Cloyter on RNZ's French Pacific desk about the complex situation.
Yes, Koroi, the meeting actually took place earlier this month in Paris, and it was significant in the sense that those opposing parties in New Caledonia, those who are pro-independence and those who are pro-French, hadn't been talking to each other or been sitting at the same table for nearly 2 years after the outcomes of the third referendum of self-determination for New Caledonia, and that was in December 2021. And ever since, it's been very difficult to put all these parties together at the same table at the same time. And that's probably one of the main achievements of that meeting that took place in Paris with France, hosted by France, because for the first time, they actually accepted to speak together and talk in a way in Paris for the first time. So that's one achievement. And Paris had the sort of obligation to carry on the talks after those referendums. That's under the provisions of the Nouméa Accord, because in actual fact, it was acting on one special provision of that accord, which is a bit tricky because it leaves a lot of place to interpretation. But the accord in the text actually says that after 3 responses, a no to independence, the parties still have to meet in order to examine what is being described as the situation that has been generated after those 3 referendums. So that's what Paris was trying to do. And in the past few months, the French Minister of Home Affairs and also in charge of Overseas, Gerald Darmanin, I think he'd been traveling about 4 times to New Caledonia to try to get this to happen. The desired all-round meeting took place.
And obviously, this is the back of President Macron's visit and his big speech in Nouméa as well. What were the outcomes from this meeting? And I should backtrack a bit and say, was the entire FLNKS grouping represented? There'd been some divisions before on engagement as well.
Okay, so apart from getting everyone at the same table, what happened during those, I think, 4 or 5 days, it took the whole week from Monday to Friday, 2 weeks ago, different sessions. One was, the final one was actually with the president. And there was also a meeting with the prime minister, Elizabeth Bourne, but most of the other meetings were actually with Darmanin. And what happened there is that he took the initiative because he said, no one else was actually suggesting anything. So he said, I've got a 5-page document here. He actually called it himself a martyr document, which means this document is just a working document. It is actually doomed to be slaughtered by amendments from all sides, but that's what he put on the table. So at that time, by the end of that week, it looked like, well, everyone was sort of happy with that because they say, now we've got a basis. we've got something to work on. Obviously, the pro-French parties in New Caledonia were very happy. And the pro-independence parties who have been gathered under the umbrella of FLNKS reacted in Paris to say, yes, we can work with that document. If you want us to slaughter it, we're going to slaughter it. We're going to bring those amendments that you're actually inviting from us, because we've got a lot.
And so, since the meeting was held, some of the outcomes came to light. What have been the reactions in New Caledonia?
Well, like I said before, the immediate reactions were overall favorable, or at least not hostile. But at the end of last week, one of the major components of the FLNKS, which is the Union Caledonienne, the UC, has actually said, well, on second thoughts, we're not going to take part in the discussions, that future discussions that are going to take place, we believe, mid-October, because that's when the French minister wants to travel again to New Caledonia. We will not take part in that. We believe the documents that has been submitted by the French minister is not acceptable. They're actually going as far as saying it's not serious. And they said they'll probably maybe resume some participation after their own Congress of UC, which is supposed to happen sometime mid-November. Obviously, that's after the French minister wants to visit New Caledonia.